Hi, welcome to a new video of mine. My name is Finya, and today I don't want to talk about books that I have already read. I want to talk about some books that I really want to read in the future. And yes, these books in particular are big books. So not tall books, but books with a lot of pages. So like huge bricks that I'm kind of intimidated to get into it, but they're so renowned and so important, and everybody's kind of talking about it, and they just seem like books you have to read at least once in your life, or I feel like I have to read them, and I do really want to read some of these books, but they're just so long and so intimidating that I made this list of these big books that I want to read before I die, which is hopefully not anytime soon, so I'm not really in a rush to read them. But yeah, I want to read them sooner than later, and yes, enjoy. And one thing, because I don't know what some of these books are actually about, I just heard people talking about how good they are, or you just know the title, but I actually don't really know what's going on. I've asked ChatGPT to give me a short synopsis of these books, and I'm gonna read them to you. So, starting off on my list, I have two books from the same Russian author, and the first one is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And I've read a couple of Dostoevsky books. So one novella, which was called White Nights, which was really good. And then two novels of his, first Notes from the Underground and second The Gambler, that was called. I had the German title in my head, and they were phenomenal, like both of them. I love Dostoevsky's writing, and I basically read those first. Even though they were less popular, they were shorter books, and I wanted to test out how I feel about his writing and if I wanted to suffer through tons and tons of pages if I don't like the writing. So yes, kind of next on my list are these two, which are very long. And Crime and Punishment, well, ChatGPT says, Raskolnikov, a destitute former student, commits a murder and struggles with guilt, morality, and redemption in 19th century St. Petersburg. And this is basically all I've already knew. Obviously it takes place in Russia, and this guy commits a murder and he's struggling with all kinds of things, and this is basically everything I know about. It has 671 pages, which is actually one of the shorter ones on the list. But yeah, I'm really excited to read Dostoevsky because it's so good. I don't know, it's something about Dostoevsky writing about inner conflicts and inner demons and just bad people in general. Like, it's so good, and it's so satisfying to read, and it's so thought-provoking. So this kind of theme is really interesting to me, and this is probably the first book I would get into from this list. Oh, and disclaimer, the page counts I've, figured out, I just got from the most popular edition on Goodreads. So some of these obviously differ in different languages or different editions, but around that page number, they're all in. Then, secondly, from Dostoevsky, we have The Brothers Karamazov. I still don't know to this day if I pronounce it correctly. Karamazov? I don't really know. But yeah, ChatGPT says the complex relationships and moral dilemmas of the Karamazov family culminate in patricide exploring themes of faith, doubt, and free will. Just to understand the sentence, just took me like 3 minutes. But yeah, I think I know more about Crime and Punishment than I know about this one. I think there are 4 brothers, but it's mainly about 3 of them. And this is actually longer. This is 796 pages, so it's a bit longer than Crime and Punishment. And I know less about it, so I'm not as intrigued with this one. But just knowing it's by Dostoevsky, I want to read it. And I do know some booktubers who actually love this one more than Crime and Punishment, so I'm really intrigued to read this one as well, and it's pretty, high up on the list. Okay, we just kind of continue with another Russian author. You probably have guessed it right, yes, Leo Tolstoy. And the first one I have on my list is War and Peace. I mean, War and Peace, I think everyone knows the title and most people have not read it. And I do think kind of the world divides into 2 sections of people, the people who have read War and Peace and the people who haven't. And I really want to count myself in the former group. So this is kind of this once in a lifetime achievement, because people told me that Tolstoy is kind of hard to read, kind of to stay in the book. But other people have also told me that it's so gripping and it's so well written and you really can't put it down. So I'm kind of, divided because who can I trust? So ChatGPT said, set against the backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars, this epic novel intertwines the lives of aristocratic families, exploring love, loss, and the impact of history on individuals. Yeah, I don't really get a lot from this description, to be honest. I mean, it's history. It's an epic novel. It's families and love and loss. I mean, it is 1,392 pages. So obviously a lot is going on. It's probably very hard for a bot to, just summarize it in one sentence. So I give you some slack, ChatGPT, but I really don't know what it's about. Like I've seen so many book reviews, like 30-minute videos on just reading One Piece, and still to this day, I'm not really sure what it's about. So I guess you just have to read it. And next up, also by Leo Tolstoy, who would have guessed, Anna Karenina. I think my mom has read this actually. I have to ask her how she liked it. This has 960 pages, so it's a bit shorter. And I do think I have a slightly better idea of what it is about. So we have here Anna, a married aristocrat, enters a doomed affair with Count Vronsky, leading to a tragic downfall amid the social expectations of Russian society. So it's more centered around one person, I think. I think in One Piece, there are a lot of characters you're kind of, juggling between. And Anna Karenina, I think it just follows her mainly. So it makes sense that it would be a bit shorter. Yeah, but still not a huge idea what it's about, to be honest. And what I've actually heard, I don't know if it's a rumor or if I just made it up in my dreams, but I heard that Russian authors used to be paid by pages they were writing. So obviously the authors wanted to write as many pages they could to get paid more. So that is probably a factor in why those Russian novels from that time are so long. But maybe that's not true at all. And I just listened to the internet when I shouldn't have. Don't take my word for it. Oh, the next one I'm so excited about. That is Haruki Murakami 1Q84. And this I also don't know a lot about, but the premise I heard is that we already know 1984 by George Orwell, which was written in the 1940s, and that was imagining how the year 1984 could be in the world. And 1Q84, I think, was written in the 2000s, I think. And that was basically looking back and writing a story of what the year 1984 could have been. So that's kind of the premise, and I think that is super interesting. And because I loved 1984 and I love this dystopian vibe and this idea, I'm really excited. And this, I think, next to Crime and Punishment, one of the highest books for me on that list. So ChatGPT wrote, in a parallel version of 1984 Tokyo, two individuals, Ayumame and Tango, sorry if I butchered those names, navigate a surreal world filled with strange occurrences, cults, and a quest for truth. So that sounds kind of magical realistic to me, which I do like. I have not read many magical realism books in my life, apart from the ones from Marquez, which is wonderful. And I don't even know if that is that, but it seems to me, strange occurrences, it seems a bit weird. And I've heard that it is pretty weird, and it has, stretches in the middle and a very intertwined story. And the number I found was 944, but I know that, for example, the German editions, they're split, I think, into two books. So in one is book 1 and 2, and the second one is the third book, I think, and these total up to around 1,500 pages. So yeah, that really changes depending on editions and languages. So it seems a bit, long. But I did like the books I read from Murakami, which were After Dark and Norwegian Wood. And they didn't make me fall in love with him necessarily, but I did really like his writing most of the time. I really enjoyed After Dark, which was pretty short. So I'm really interested in how, this one turns out, because it's much longer than his other novels. I suppose. I have not heard of another novel by his that is so long. Next up is The Count of Monte Cristo. And for this, I didn't really know that that existed before. I think I knew the title and I've heard of it, but it was not really on my radar as a book to read. But then Emma from Emma Reads and Carolyn, they both read and loved it. So yeah, that kind of hooked me, you know, when a booktuber is so fanatic about a book, like I'm in, because I trust their opinions. So that is one that I'm excited to read, even though I know nothing, really nothing at all. So ChatGPT wrote, wrongly imprisoned, Edmond Dantes escapes and seeks vengeance on those who betrayed him, transforming into the mysterious and wealthy Count of Monte Cristo. I mean, that sounds like a cool story. I like vengeance, you know? I like, you know, people going up on the ladder of success and kind of making things of themselves when they started so low. So that sounds really intriguing to me. And yeah, Count of Monte Cristo, I cannot tell you one thing about this book, apart that it's long. It is 1,276 pages long, which is a lot, I think, apart from one piece that is actually the longest on here. So it's a brick and it's a mission. I think all of these, like individual, they will take me months to complete, but you know, that's why I have a lifetime before me to do that. Next up is Don Quixote, which has 1,023 pages. Yes, they will not get shorter. I think everything above 1,000 pages is just outrageous. Like, what can you say that is so important? But yes, Don Quixote, delusional nobleman. A good start. We love a delulu guy. A delusional nobleman, inspired by tales of chivalry, sets out as a self-proclaimed knight with his loyal squire, Sancho Panza, leading to a series of comic misadventures. Like, this sounds like silliness to me, and that's kind of why I love it. It sounds really, I don't know, low stakes. It doesn't sound like it takes itself too seriously, which I kind of like, sorry. And yeah, apart from that, like, this is, I think, the book that I know the least amount about, but it's just so ominous. Like, Don Quixote, I think it's just everywhere, and it's behind so many great works as inspiration. So, you know, it's something, you know, I want to do. And next up, we have two very old books, seemingly by Homer, the Odyssey and the Iliad. They are 541 and 848 pages long. And, you know, Greek mythology is something that is so popular, you know, especially like the last couple of years. I have read a couple of wonderful Greek mythology retellings, and you know, parts of that we're discussing, you know, the original plot from the Odyssey and the Iliad. So I'm really intrigued to kind of read like the original text and see, you know, what was actually written, because I love those retellings so much. And yeah, so let's see, the Odyssey. After the Trojan War, the hero Odysseus embarks on a perilous journey home to Ithaca, facing mythical creatures and divine intervention along the way. So that's kind of, you know, what, you know what the Odyssey is about, kind of. So Ithaca, is that right?
Ithaca.
Yeah, damn. Whew. And then the Iliad, set during the Trojan War, this epic poem recounts the rage of Achilles, the conflict between the Greeks and Trojans, and the fates of key warriors on both sides. So yeah, I think you probably know kind of the story to both of these. Obviously you know the stories of Achilles and Odysseus and kind of what was roughly going on, but I really wanted to read this text and to kind of get, you know, like the full picture in one. And I think it was attributed to the writer Homer, but I don't think that historians are actually sure that was that guy. So maybe it's just recollections of many people, but yeah, we don't know. So I'm really excited because it's like, mythology is such a cool topic. It's like fantasy but for grown-ups, you know what I mean? It's like fantasy but make it historical. So I'm really excited to read both of these. I think when I'm reading the Iliad, I will probably wait for the great romance between Achilles and Patroclus, but probably it's not what's going on. But yeah, I think I just have, you know, the small snippets I have from, you know, Song of Achilles and Circe and like Percy Jackson's and stuff, is you're probably not really representing these books at all. But yeah, it's kind of what motivates me to actually read them. So I'm really thankful to those retellings that I kind of grew up with or have been reading in the last couple of years. And that kind of motivates me to read the original text. Retellings, I love them. I'm here for it. And that actually concludes this list. There's just so many pages. I counted it, and apparently the total of these 9 books are 8,461 pages. So almost 1,000 pages each. So, I mean, if I was just going to read romance, like cute little romance fantasy books that were like 300 pages each, let's see how many I could read. So if instead reading those 9 books, I could read 28 cute little 300 pages books. Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. That's too easy. I will want to read those bricks of novels and suffer through them. Like, I know that DNFing is a thing that you could do, but you know, not with things like One Piece. You know, you have to at least finish it. Like, if someone asks, I can say, yeah. Of course I've read One Piece. I hope they're all very good. And if you have already read some of these books, please leave a comment below and tell me how you like them. That maybe, you know, will spark up some more motivation to actually start them. But, you know, again, I'm not in a rush. I can read them in my 30s, in my 40s, in my 50s. I can read them when I'm 84. Maybe I will get older, hopefully. But yes, until then, I hope you have a great weekend and goodbye.